Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Fernando Morales podcast. And today we have the legendary Ben Werman. He's been grinding away intensely to promote Nostr, Bitcoin, Carnivore. A lot of things to get into today because, at least personally, I don't know. I mean, I've been talking to Ben a lot, but I don't really know who exactly is Ben. Like, what's his origin story? What got him so into Bitcoin, Nostr, and all these things? So, I guess the first question should be, Ben, like, who were you before Bitcoin? And who are you now? How are you different?
There was definitely a fiat Ben phase for the majority of my life, that is for sure. It was definitely, I think so many people have a similar story where like 2020 was kind of the period that things changed for me, but it wasn't the same as everyone else. I was still like a fast asleep sheep in 2020. But I just had more time to learn about stuff, so I started learning about things. I was living in Petone, New Zealand, which is this little small town just outside of Wellington, and I was in a hostel before that, and they're kicking everyone out, like lockdown everywhere. So like, okay, I went to this little tiny house Airbnb. I reached out to this guy just on the Airbnb messaging and said, hey, I have my camera with me. I'll like take pictures of your place to make your website better, and I can help you around the house. And just like I was hustling that whole trip, like how can I get like free places to stay? And he said, "Oh, I just happen to have this big garden project to do, so you can help me with that, and you can just stay here for free." So I said, "Okay."
Cool. Damn,
so
that's cool.
I was basically just painting this guy's like deck and helping him garden and taking pictures of his place for his like Airbnb profile for a few months, and just listening to lots of podcasts and watching YouTube videos and reading books. And before that, the years before that, I was into crypto, so I was still a shitcoiner for a while. But that 2020 period was when I really started learning about Bitcoin and why that is the best. And so that definitely, like so many other people, just got me down a track of truth seeking in general, of just realizing everything's a lie. And it took probably a few years to, well, I'd say a couple of years, 2020, 2021, those 2 years of really just like learning. And also what's funny is, which is definitely different than most Bitcoiners, was during 2021, I got into the whole GameStop thing. And that was a really big story in early 2021. And that is actually when I decided to truly plug into social media and use it as like a powerful tool for connecting with people to create change, because before that I was kind of just doing my own research, watching random YouTubes, listening to podcasts. I didn't have like a lot of direction, as people don't usually do until they have like a really strong network. So once you have a really powerful community of people that you trust, it helps angle where do I put my learning and where do I focus correctly, and that just supercharged all of that. So 2021, I just started really building that community. I finally started using Twitter out after it was pretty stagnant for many years. I barely really used it. But yeah, so all those things kept compounding. The more people I met that were interesting, the more I got interested in Bitcoin, the more I went down a rabbit hole. And eventually, I was living in California at the time. And eventually, I was just like, I need to go somewhere and get a Bitcoin job because Bitcoin is so awesome. And so I decided to just completely pack up and move to Austin, Texas, because I knew there was a big Bitcoin scene over there. And I found a Bitcoin job, went over there, got an apartment, and then I lived there for a year. Went to all the meetups at the Unchained office. Super cool. Like you got to meet just so many Bitcoiners there, and just continued growing that network again. And I've always been a people person, so just being able to meet all these people and connect with them and learn more about Bitcoin in person by talking to these people was massive for me. That totally changed my direction in so many things. It also planted the seeds for thinking about health more. And this is a theme we also talk about, how there's such a strong intertwining of Bitcoiners with really caring about health. So yeah, I just started meeting a bunch of people at these meetups, and they're all just eating tons of meat. And I think that's weird. Don't you care about your cholesterol, bro? The typical thoughts coming from total fiat upbringing. um but yeah, just kept listening, learning, absorbing, like trying to just be an absorbent sponge of all these new ideas I was running into, as you start to quote unquote awaken and just think about things very differently. So spent a lot more time just following different types of Instagram accounts that were outside of the norm, and hearing about, the carnivore diet was the first time I probably started hearing about that. It was a process, but I heard about it around there. And the animal-based diet and the paleo diet, all the diet stuff was interesting. So I started experimenting with that because my whole life before that, man, when I was living in California in that earlier part of the story, every single day I had the same exact thing. I can literally tell you exactly what I had. I had a bowl of this whole wheat, like wheat squares. Like I can't remember what it's called anymore. Like shredded wheat was what it was called, which is
Okay.
just the disgusting sludge that we convince ourselves is good for us because they say so, and it's low cholesterol, whatever. So I had a bowl of like shredded wheat with like a layer of some basic four or something that had a little bit of taste to it on top, and I would put a bunch of yogurt on top, which was like the closest thing I had to something healthy. And I put a bunch of craisins and a big glob of peanut butter. Like, oh, there's my protein. Like everyone says protein is good for breakfast. So just this big concoction of like this cereal full of peanut butter and yogurt and craisins. Um, that was my breakfast. Oh, of course I had, oat milk or rice milk or some
Damn.
garbage fake milk. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for lunch, I would have a sandwich with my whole wheat bread because that's super good for you. A little bit of meat in there. There'd be like some chicken or some ham or something, and it'd just be like a ham and cheese sandwich. And I would have an apple and a bunch of like some like veggie chips, from Costco. These like
Yeah.
total
Yeah.
scam chips that
Yeah.
say they're good for you. And
Exactly.
so like that's pretty much like the story of my diet for so many years was these things that are just total scams that so many people are convinced are good for you because they say so, and I just believed it. So um
Bitcoin helped save you from that, pull you
yes,
out of that.
yeah, because I was fully trusting the system. I was trusting that there couldn't possibly be these evil forces that actually just lie about this stuff. So yeah, that Bitcoin world really just pulled me. Bitcoin was my first huge oh shit moment of like, wow, there really are just massive lies out there that are
Yeah,
at the highest level.
I was going to ask that actually. Like, was Bitcoin your first rabbit hole? Because I know you've been
Yeah.
going down a lot of them, and we'll
Oh
get
yeah.
into that later on. Okay, so
Yeah.
it was your first rabbit hole, and
Bitcoin was the one. Yep.
perfect. I don't know if you're okay with sharing, but what's your background? Like, are you into social media management?
Like
Film?
education wise and career and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's fun. So I went to the University of Washington in Seattle, which is a big, beautiful school that it totally teaches fiat things as much as any of them. And I was trying to get, well, my first idea when I went in there was I have no idea what I want to do. Like I need to figure it out. Like most American kids going into college, and I feel like most people in general just go to university and we don't know what to do. We're like 18, And so I saw some really smart people doing computer science. So I tried that for a little bit, and I just got freaking wiped out because there's people all over the world going to that school for computer science. The curve destroyed me. And I tried, informatics. It's like computer science, but a little bit easier, more of a human side. Got wiped out again. There's too many smart, like the school is full of smart people. Like I just kept getting destroyed by these like fancy degrees I thought would pay more. And I ended up just going with communications, the party degree, as they call it,
The
because
party.
it's by far is way easier. And now I look back and I'm so glad I didn't continue trying these hard degrees because I now know that like it's just a piece of paper. Like people in the industries I actually care about don't care about that stuff. So I got the communications degree, and then I would say like my jobs I did after that were like recruiting, sales. When I was in California, I would work on the sales floor in a Tesla shop in a Tesla.
Wait,
Like,
what is communications? Like, what do you learn there? Like, how to communicate effectively? Like, or like,
yeah,
how does
it's
it?
like sales and marketing and writing. It's very broad in general, which is why, for me, like I think I'm glad I did that because it was the easiest for me. It came naturally, and I, had more time to do actual fun, cool stuff in college, which is
Did
where
you?
I
Did you?
made all my best memories.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure you had a lot of fun. Like Safety likes to say, it's college is basically a postponement of adulthood. Just
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I was in a fraternity. I was partying every day. I just was like, I was there for fun. And looking back, like part of me is just like, I'm glad that I had fun and wasn't too caught up in studying because I made so many cool connections. I learned a lot about myself through that process for sure. Just the social side was really powerful. But is that worth like the crazy high cost of the degree? Probably not. I was one of the lucky ones. Like my grandparents basically just gave me the college tuition, so I didn't have to pay
Okay.
for it myself. I have friends who are still in debt to this day, you know, over a decade later because those massive, the debt they take out for college, which
Okay. But
definitely gives me the feeling that this educational system needs to be really looked at and scrutinized, which is something I plan for my own podcast in the near future to do more talking about that.
a question, like,
Mm-hmm.
do you really feel you learned something valuable with this degree in this during this your time in university, or could you have learned all of this by yourself? Basically, you kind of already have the talent for it.
From like the classes
Yeah,
and
did you honestly
oh,
learn a great deal?
completely useless.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, that's
I
important to know.
I learned 99% of what I learned was from living in a house with a bunch of people, going to
Okay,
parties, socializing, going to the gym there. Like it was all outside of class. The class and the homework and all the actual schoolwork was totally useless. I don't remember any of it. It didn't help me. It was just an annoyance and just got in
got
my way of the actual learning that I did with the people around me. So yeah, this is why I am a full subscriber of the fiat education being a total scam thing. You do not need school to learn. You could if I would have just started if I would have just read the Bitcoin Standard in my freshman year and just quit college the next year, my family would have been super upset and disappointed because they're all pushing me in that direction. But I would have gone on a better path. So that's definitely what I recommend to people who are open to the idea of taking a very different direction than the usual, go to high school, go to college, get a degree, go get a job. I think that there's so much information out there through books and podcasts and all this free decentralized media we have to become a lot more successful and have a more fulfilling life much earlier. Truly.
yeah. Imagine if you would have taken that money that your grandparents gave you, put into Bitcoin, or to
Oh my
start.
God, I don't want to
Yeah.
think about it. I don't want to think about it.
And just to be sure, like, so basically, Bitcoin clicked around 2021, I guess,
Yeah, I would
2022.
say so. 2020, when I was living in New Zealand, I stumbled across Mike Maloney's "Hidden Secrets of Money" series, which is like a YouTube series by this gold bug guy. Basically, finally got it through my thick skull that the problem is the
Mhm.
fiat money. It's not that we need 1,000 new crypto coins. That took me forever to learn that lesson. And from there, I would say 2021 is when I went super hardcore. And that's a little bit of a separate tangent, but I talked about how I was in the GameStop thing for a while. GameStop, the company, started getting into NFTs and a bunch of shitcoins. So I was like, I need to figure out if this is total BS because I've learned more about this stuff than most of the people in this investing space. So I went super hard into like figuring out, are the Bitcoin maximalists actually right? Have they been right this whole time? I figured out, yes, they are in 2021. So I'd say 2021, like by the end of it, I was a full Bitcoin maxi by then.
Perfect. Yeah, because another question I had was like, you're traveling a lot around the world. So one of my questions was like, what does this guy do for a living? So it's basically, so from what I understand, like kind of you began with like couch surfing type of thing, like you help out in the community to stay around in like hostels or Airbnbs.
Yeah,
Plus,
it's changed
oh,
around a bit. So if we're looking at the timeline here, so I mean, since 2018, I've pretty much been bouncing around. So I graduated from university in 2017. I worked like a door-to-door sales job for about a year, and I just realized, well, I'm sorry. First, I did recruiting, and then I did the door-to-door sales, and then I just realized I need to do something different. And I just happened to meet this guy at a party who did a 6 month working holiday in Australia. And this is actually kind of a funny story. So we had a house party at my townhouse in Seattle that I was living at the time while I was working as that door-to-door salesman. This was right after I graduated. This guy that came to our house party, who was a mutual friend, and he told this whole story about how he just spent 6 months in Australia and it was amazing. And literally at the party that night, I'm like drunk and I grab my laptop from my room downstairs. I literally apply to get the working holiday visa to Australia on the spot. I wake up the next morning, I'm hungover, and I realize I'm super glad I did that. I need to go to Australia. Like I'm doing this. Let's go. Because I think I had that inside of me that I need to do something different here. So I just heard that story and I'm like, let's send it right now. We're doing this. I like wiped the beer off the table, put the laptop down, applied, and I was all off to the races just a couple months later. And then ever since then, I've just been bouncing around. And to answer your question of like how did I even manage to do that? It's a mixture of a lot of different types of just hustling, man. Like before I even went to Australia, I uh, I looked up every single hostel in each of the cities I wanted to visit, which was only at that point the first one I wanted to go to Melbourne. So I pulled up every hostel in the city. I made a spreadsheet of all their emails and phone numbers. I sent out a mass email to all of them and said, similar as I told you to that guy at the Airbnb in New Zealand. I said, "Hey, I have a camera. I can take pictures of your events or your hostel for your hostel world page online, and I can help out with anything else you need. Like, let me know if you have." And most of them said, "Yeah, we need someone to help make breakfast. We want to have someone be a photographer at our parties." So I got to live that whole year paying no rent. So I basically got really good at just cutting expenses significantly through these sorts of things and making basically no money. But I actually was still trading Bitcoin at that time. So I was
Okay.
being like a trader and just getting completely lucky, thinking I was super smart, of course, by just buying when it was low and it went up and I sold a little bit and I had enough to pay groceries for another couple months. So like I wasn't a holder yet. So I
Okay.
2020, 2021 is when I figured out I need to just hold this Bitcoin and find other ways to make money because this thing needs to stay put in my savings account.
And I'm guessing it also makes traveling much more easier knowing that you have this hard, secure money. That is pretty
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that about you. So that was,
Mhm.
finally I got
And
that
I'm still
answer.
doing that to this day. Like I'm still bouncing around. I'm still like reaching out to places that need help with things, doing volunteering in certain places, and making like just a little bit of money from the Sats streaming on the podcast and Nostr and Stacker News, and basically using that. And this is actually a cool thing that I've been really into is just getting more people that I meet out traveling onto Nostr because when I was in actually the place I was at when we did our last call when I was in Chiapas, uh, I was in this house full of people that were all long-term stayers. So I got them all to download Primal in a Bitcoin wallet, and we had a little circular economy going. So whenever we owed each other stuff, and so I basically told them like. I managed to finagle my way into just a bunch of these cool little tours and things around the house. And when people would do shopping runs, I would just throw my name down. Could you get me this, please? And so I was able to pay all these people in Bitcoin for, different things that we owed each other for and kind of got them all into the loop of like, using Bitcoin because I had enough saved up at that point. I could actually like pay for some things. So just
Damn.
another example of just how I've always managed to find a way to creatively just get through the world without having like a full-time job ever. And I've sacrificed a lot of Bitcoin for that, but it's been a lot of fun. And I get to continue doing what I love and creating podcast episodes and shit posting on Nostr all day, every day. So I think that this is an important thing to work on for the future.
I think very, very formative, definitely. I think like young males who are single, this could be like, I think that's something they could apply themselves. I think it helps form a character,
Yeah.
understand money. And from what I'm hearing, you're pretty good at making communities. Like, that's actually a skill. Like, I wish I could create a Bitcoin community here where I am. I haven't had the time. I haven't really tried, but it sounds like I might ask her some tips later on then. And
Have you heard of Satlantis, the new Nostr client?
Satlantis? No, not
Ooh, that's something you should look at because not sure if
Satlantis.
you've heard of Alex Svetsky. He's always making cool Bitcoin projects and he creates a lot of content. Him and Jason Sellers and probably some other people I don't remember, but they're working on this new client, which is basically this community based client. It's like a mixture of Meetup and uh, Facebook Marketplace and a few other things. And I've done some episodes with both of them on this, but it's super interesting because you can basically claim your city on there. And I know you're in Chihuahua. You could claim that city and post meetups on there. You could create meetups and find people to join that. You can have merchants join it. It's a
Interesting.
really cool idea. I'm really excited about it. And it sounds like Svetsky is really buckling in on this. He's kind of a serial entrepreneur. He bounces around in between a lot of things, but he's really passionate about this one. And I really think it's going to take off. I'm very bullish on it for sure.
I'll check it out. Satlantis, right? All
Mhm.
right. It's a
That could be
client.
how you find your people and start growing a community over there. We'll see. It's
Yes.
very
Yes.
new. It's a very new client, and it's pulling a lot of different things together. So it's quite a big, ambitious vision. So I'm looking forward to watching it grow, though, for sure.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thanks for the recommendation. And going back to the rabbit hole situation. So Bitcoin's the first one. Which ones would you say are the most interesting to you right now? And I've been seeing a lot of, I would say, black pilled posts on Nostr recently. Oh, that was like a few weeks ago, but now I can see you're adding like the positive side, saying that the orange pill helps that go away. But tell me, what's the most interesting rabbit hole so far for you?
Man, there's just so many. Like there's so many, and I'm actually just about to upload an episode I did with Daniel Prince, and we kind of this episode I'm about to put up is kind of a perfect encapsulation of this. How there's just infinite rabbit holes out there, and it's overwhelming. But someone's got to do the dirty work and just dig through all of them. And so I do my best to, point out the ones that I think are important that people should like understand and just think about, but also keep it hopeful. We have solutions that are there. The orange pill and the purple pill are excellent. They're delicious. You want to swallow those down as much as possible because they fix the problems we talk about. It always traces back to those two things of free speech and sound money are the solutions that, but man, there's too many to even think of. Literally just a few nights ago, I just looked up the moon landing and went down the rabbit hole of like, is the moon landing fake? And it's completely fake.
Really?
Yeah, like the rabbit holes are coming so hot and heavy now. They're so quick that and of course you have to be careful to not just assume every single conspiracy theory is true that you find. There's going to be nuanced places, but you when you just have a strong network of trust in certain people who present this information, and you understand how many large things are complete lies, it becomes easier and easier to come to terms with the fact that truly everything is a lie. And it's really crazy. And you've seen me talking about the geoengineering stuff, the chemtrails and all that, and that one is absolutely depressing. So I don't recommend it for the faint of heart because it is rough. And I talk about that with Daniel Prince as well. It's there are just a lot of evil forces out there that are just trying to wipe people out. It's pretty simple. Like it's a weird mix of people that are too obsessed with power and control and just trying. And there's also people that just think that there's too many people in the world, we need to depopulate. And so there's a lot of dark things going on. And another one I'm not sure if you saw me post about was this really wild documentary series called Europa: The Last Battle, which I've been sharing around as well. That one takes you through some very interesting historical background on all of this. Like, why is there such a strong attack that seems to be so concerted against everyone? And I will leave it at that. I won't go too deep into that one because that's a whole different rabbit hole. But the only place you can post it is on Nostr. If you go to europathelastbattle.net, their website, you cannot post it on Twitter. It gives you a hateful content. You can't post this. I've never seen that in my life. That's the only time I've seen that was when I tried posting that. And the same thing on Instagram. Won't let you post on Instagram. It says, this link is against our policy. It's stonewalled everywhere, which is how you know that it's going to be something interesting. So, it's intense. It's real intense. It will blow your world up, and some may argue it goes too far in the other direction of you know certain things. I don't agree with everything in there, but it will certainly make you think. I promise you that.
Okay, it sounds a lot like I've been hearing a lot that it's the Western values that are being attacked, and that's
Yeah,
leading
that's
to.
it. Hmm.
That's it.
That's what
Okay.
it zeroes in on that a lot for sure. Hmm.
Yeah, I heard Doug Casey. I don't know if you know who he is. Doug Casey talks a lot about that. That it's the Western values that has brought the world in general forward. But it's interesting points of views. But I guess people can
Hmm.
check out the Europa documentary for more. Um,
Buckle up. It's like 12 hours worth of
12 hours.
documentation.
Holy
Yeah,
cow!
it's huge. It's deep. It goes through like over like 100 years plus of history, I think, and just like how did we get here today, basically. And I like I said, I'm not endorsing 100% of it. I don't agree with everything in there, but it's certainly thought provoking. Do you know Brandon Quittem? He's another he's a great Bitcoiner, and he's really into history. I shared it with him yesterday. He just watched one episode. He sent me a mind blown emoji. Like all my history buff friends that are like into history, that's one to look at and just see a very different perspective on the last 100 years.
Actually, it's my passion for history that brought me to Austrian economics, which then brought me to anarchy and then brought me to Bitcoin. And
Oh, I
Bitcoin brought
can't
me.
wait to see what you think about it, then. You got to watch it.
I'll try to watch. Yeah, but you say 12 hours, and then the first thought that came to mind was like, no wonder that the average person doesn't have time to go into these type of rabbit holes. They're grinding away
Yeah.
at the rat race, and you tell them there's a 12-hour documentary about history. Like, I'd rather get drunk. I'd rather just watch TV and things like that. You know what I mean? So it's like I have no idea how we. I don't think you have to pull everyone out of the matrix. You just need a certain amount of population to do so, and everyone will just like follow suit. You know, there's a lot of sheep, and I think there will always be sheep. I think what matters the most is who's leading them. And I think that's what the current battle is right now. You know, you got like these globalists versus the more freedom-minded people. I would say we're living very interesting times. Let's see hopefully things won't get too dark, because as you've yourself have been expressing, this black pill type of aura, but Bitcoin can probably fix this. And that's the next question. Do you believe in that phrase, Bitcoin fixes everything, or Bitcoin can fix this? Or are you more of like, it can fix some things, but some things are just broken and Bitcoin can't do
Beyond
anything?
repair. Yeah, I would say I 100% believe in that meme, and I have been more recently adding Nostr into that as well. Like so many other Bitcoiners, I just, if you would have told me 5 years ago, or what was it? Yeah, 4 years ago, that I would be as excited about something as Bitcoin, I thought you were crazy. But I think Nostr is right on that level because it frees communication the same time that Bitcoin frees the money. And those two things together, no matter how many dark black pill rabbit holes you go down, it comes back to those two things being under control by evil forces. And Bitcoin and Nostr completely breaks the chains off. And so while when you look at the trends around the world, I literally just posted a picture earlier today of just the fertility rates in the US are just absolutely through the floor. And I think we talked about that when we last chatted as well, that Mexico is in a terrible position also. Basically, every country out there is just completely collapsing in health and fertility. And so it's hard to not get just worked up about this and just worried and anxious about the future for people that really care about just a better future for everyone, because everyone's suffering. But by focusing on those solutions, Bitcoin and Nostr, I think that we really, as human beings, can create so much positive change if we really focus in on something. We've just proven over and over throughout history that human beings can do awesome things and completely turn things around. And I'm just overall super bullish on humanity, that we can fix this. We can get through any of these issues if we just focus on those solutions and don't get too stuck in wallowing in our misery, like some people who haven't found these solutions unfortunately just fall into because they don't know they exist. And there's so much noise out there preventing them from finding it for a reason, because the dark forces of the world want those folks stuck in this doom and gloom state and not having hope. Because when people have hope and they have solutions together that actually fix it, that's when we turn the tide and start making real progress.
And I think it's worth the fight, the struggle. For example, a few days ago, after I would say more than a year and a half of trying to orange pill my parents, my mother finally started DCAing into Bitcoin.
Nice.
Yes,
Awesome.
It's amazing. It feels fantastic. And they're thinking about selling the house, and I'm starting to put the little idea in there, you should put some of that into Bitcoin. And I hope they do. And they'll be set for life because they don't have pension or anything, So I tell them, like, stop worrying about because they've started investing in real estate and all these things. Like, do you really want to worry about maintenance, taxes, tenants, and whatnot? Why not just put into this magic internet money and then relax away, retire early without any problems?
Teach me your ways, bro. My parents are still buying more houses. I've been trying for so long. You have no idea how hard I've been trying this. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely plan on talking about my experience, but I think it depends on every individual. I have no idea what I did exactly, but oh well. I just kept on talking. We have a family. Well, basically what you do, you just keep on shit posting. That's what I was doing in my family group. I keep on posting it.
Post to your family.
That shit puts my family. Yeah, like every time the price explodes, I add like those memes where there's like after the elections with Trump, there was a meme with like Elon Musk and Trump dancing around.
Yeah. That wouldn't go over well with my family. I would not post that one. I'm from the Northwest, sir. This is we don't not Trump fans here. I'll leave it at that.
Well, actually, yeah, same thing here in Mexico. A lot of Mexicans don't like Trump because he's anti, migration and stuff like that. So my parents also don't like him. So when I shared that, they thought I was saying, "Yay, Trump won," but no, my focus was Bitcoin goes up, But everyone
This
understands
is what we
differently.
call the boomer to millennial language barrier of the memes. People don't speak memes. They don't understand it. Like we just throw these things up for fun, and we're not like making a statement about the person in the meme. It's like they don't understand the culture well enough, and that's
That's
what it
true.
is.
Exactly. Oh, and I really want to get into the two websites you have. So you have whybitcoinonly.com and whycarnivore.com. So from what I've seen, it's a huge database on basically why carnivore and why Bitcoin. So what motivated you to partake on these huge projects?
Yeah, man. I would say I just feel like as I'm diving down these rabbit holes, I want to make sure that I leave some really good content for other people to be able to find it easier and to get through the rabbit hole easier. I think that is we're all trying to find how do we make the most of our abilities to help make more happy people and create a better world. And so for me, I'm not an expert on anything. I'm never going to go on and like be the expert on something like Safety and talk about Bitcoin or Anthony Chafee talking about carnivore. That's not my niche. I think that my niche is being the filter where I can just consume an infinite amount of content, just a disgusting amount. I like if you look at that either of those websites, I probably went through about 10 times as much as you see there. That's like a very tiny percentage of
Yeah.
what I went through.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
completely go into just obsession mode for like years for both of them. For the Why Bitcoin Only, I think that was like 2020 to 2023. I think like so about 3.5, 4 years. I was like creating the content for that, and Why Carnivore was a little bit faster, partly because I believe it's a little bit smaller. I can't even remember like the size difference, but I had a routine down, and I was also on a carnivore diet, baby. So my brain was just pew. I could just go infinitely all day. I would get up, 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. I was grinding, hustling. And when I was in Colombia, traveling there, which was, a lot of last year I was in Colombia and then Mexico, but I was just pretty much just 24/7, just grinding through podcasts, YouTube channels, online content about diet and carnivore to build that out. And the part that I'm most happy about I've gotten the most really warm, loving feedback on is just the part of the White Carnivore page that connects it to every single one of these different illnesses you can think of. So if anyone goes to the whitecarnivore.com and scrolls down to, I forget what section it is, like 5 or something. Maybe I'm wrong. But if you go down to the bottom part of the table of contents, it just has every single like illness or condition you could pretty much think of. There's hundreds of them in there. And those are each collections of different people who have testimonials of saying they went on a carnivore diet and they fixed that thing. So, for anyone out there who is struggling with some health problem, I definitely recommend you go check that out. Or if you know someone who is going through a health problem, because we talked about this earlier, hope is important. Just having hope that maybe getting the carbs out of your diet and just going meat only, the way that I believe human beings are naturally supposed to eat, could fix your issue or could significantly improve it. You'd be surprised at how many things in there were saw excellent results from going carnivore. So, yeah, that's what it's all about. That's why I made those websites, just ways to help people go down the rabbit holes I've gone down, hopefully more streamlined. And that's why I also have a podcast now. It's a great way to just, record my conversations with the people who I stumble across during these rabbit hole journeys I can like ask those questions and really uh, be in my true element, which is being the idiot and asking questions. That's where I feel the most comfortable because I often am that idiot. And my whole life, I've been like a total questioner of things, even when I was very young and in elementary school. Going to the parent teacher conferences, my teachers would always say, Ben's always asking questions. He's the only one that's not afraid to ask questions about everything. He doesn't care about looking stupid. And so that is like what I was born to do, just ask stupid questions on a podcast, except instead of whatever we were talking about in kindergarten, I'm talking about why the moon landing is fake. So just switched up the topics a little bit.
That's good. Curiosity, definitely curiosity is something super important. And actually, how would you categorize? Okay, so Bitcoin, Carnivore, Nostr. How would you, I guess, organize these in level of importance? How have they impacted your life? Like, which one has impacted your life the most positively?
Impossible to answer, bro. That is like the trifecta right there. They're all so good. It's, you know, for me, the order like I walked through was Bitcoin first, then Bitcoin led me to Carnivore, and then Nostr eventually just came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, I'm super excited about that too. So I would say it's I'm still too deep in it to say which one made the biggest difference in my life. Maybe in 10 years looking back, that's when I can make a better answer. But I kind of go through these phases of one thing at a time where I really want to just grok it super intensely. And so after I finished the white Bitcoin only, I kind of just needed a Bitcoin break. And then, it's funny, like right after I finished that website, that's when I found a carnivore diet and just said, guess I got to make another gigantic website about this too and just get obsessed about something else. So I did that, and now I'm in the Nostr rabbit hole, which I consider this a huge rabbit hole for sure. It's not the same as the others where there's like such a huge story behind it, but I mean, you could argue like big tech social media controlling our speech is quite a huge problem, and that there's certainly history there, but just it's so simple but beautiful. Like Fiat Jap just knocked it out of the park making this thing. It fixes the problem the same way as Bitcoin, and like so many other people, I remember just thinking, like, how did we not think of this earlier? It's the same idea as Bitcoin, but it's decentralized for social media, and it completely solves this, and makes you think: is there anything else out there we haven't thought of that we could just apply this Bitcoin node model and fix it? Who knows? I don't know. Like I didn't think Nostr was going to happen, and that just came out of nowhere, and it's changing everything. So man, I would say it just depends on the time period. I go through phases. I would say right now, I'm the most obsessed about Nostr because I kind of have the other two, Bitcoin and Carnivore. I feel like I've beaten those levels. I of course I'm definitely a believer in you're never at the bottom of the rabbit hole, as they say. But I think I know enough about them where I've just kind of checked them off the list, and now I'm on Nostr because one of the things that makes Nostr so exciting is it brings the whole world into learning about these other things like Bitcoin and Carnivore, because speech is so censored everywhere right now on all the legacy social media apps. People aren't able to find this stuff, and they only find this carefully curated, big tech approved social media feed, which is getting increasingly corrupted by outside forces. So I think that I truly do believe Nostr could become even bigger than those other two, as crazy as that sounds, because this is how you bring people on board. And I just in the last week or two, I've been pushing really hard on the carnivore community of X. I'm not sure if you've seen, like Tira Cole and New Dawn and Klaus and Carrie Kelly, a bunch of these people. I've really been trying to push that. I've been, messaging them and just trying to get them on board, and they've been coming over. And you send them a zap, and all of a sudden you see the little light bulb go off of these people. And we've talked about this before, how we need to bridge this community more, because a lot of Bitcoiners become carnivores, but there aren't a lot of carnivores that are into Bitcoin. So I think that Nostr could be a huge key to bridging that gap the other direction. So we have a two-way street of really bringing these communities together, because they have that mindset of sovereignty already. They do, but a lot of them just haven't seen it or felt it before. And when you get zapped on Nostr for just posting something you normally would on Twitter, and you earn Bitcoin from it, it completely changes the way they think about Bitcoin, and they think it's super cool, because it is super cool.
It is.
They
It
just
is.
never really felt it before. And so I think Nostr could be the great bridge between all these different communities we keep talking about are so important for bringing people more freedom and sovereignty. But yeah, it's so exciting. I've been just 24/7 working on that. Last night I did a Twitter space with a guy who just saw me. I've been pretty much spamming Nostr under all these big accounts that are getting their blue checks taken away, and they're mad at Elon, basically saying, here's a solution. you don't have to keep complaining about your overlord like censoring you. You can just leave. We have it right here. And so a guy saw my spam I was posting on everyone's posts, and he invited me to do a space. He had like 50,000 followers, so I went
Nice.
and we had like 1,400 roughly people, and I just told them all about Nostr, and a bunch of people were super into it, made accounts last night. So it's just it's a grassroots effort, and eventually I feel like the word Nostr is going to be totally banned from X because they're going to realize that we're just going to steal their lunch. It's going to be beautiful.
It definitely will be, and I think the Team Freedom is lucky to have someone like you here, someone so passionate about what he's doing. Like I think you're being a huge help for Nostr, bringing so many people on board. And I always see you in introductions. You're always in introductions, saying hi to everyone. Like that is fantastic. We need people exactly like that, and we're glad to have you on the team, definitely. And
And you too, man, because I always tell people this as well. You are, not to puff our own sales up here, but you and I, there are very few people who have Bitcoin, Carnivore, and Nostr figured out. We have to give ourselves a pat on the back every once in a while because that is pretty elite, There there are quite a few people that have two of those, but the full trifecta,
who knows?
we're a good spot, man. I'm proud of us. Look at, we did it. I'm proud of
We
us.
did.
We found a way.
I agree. And let's keep on take all the pills, people. I think just experiment, go down the rabbit holes. And Ben has made things so much more easier for you regarding Bitcoin and Carnivore. And he's currently working crazy for Nostr. So like, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. And actually, I finally had enough valor to publish my first Bitcoin related video on my Spanish YouTube channel. So let's see how many people get some of that orange pilling.
Have you talked about Nostr at all, or you're doing Bitcoin first?
I mention Nostr basically always on my live streams. Like if you want to talk to me exclusively, ask questions, Nostr is the best way to do it. Or you can pay me through Buy Me a Coffee, but you can do things for free on Nostr. Anyways, 2 rapid fire questions. Number 1, name your favorite Bitcoiner, Nostrich, and Carnivore.
Already named a couple earlier. I would say Bitcoiner, I just gotta go with Safedine. He's just such a killer. He wrote the Bitcoin standard, absolutely legendary. He is just consistently going down, all these tangential rabbit holes. Like he was the one that got me to even look into Carnivore. Was he kept talking about it. I remember he was fighting on Twitter with these people saying like fruit is good for you, and he was like, no, it isn't. Here's why. And I was like, he keeps being right about things. Let me try it. And people who follow him on Twitter are just going to find the correct things. He's just right about stuff. And so I have to give him the number 1. It's not a very original answer because everyone says him, but he's just absolutely a hero in my mind. And in the carnivore world, also easy. I'm going with Dr. Anthony Chafee. I really think he is the true just king of towing the line on, this is what the optimal human diet is. He is absurdly smart. Like it is unbelievable. Like when I've gone back and listened to my podcast episode with him more times than any other episode because I can't believe how much signal he can unload per second. It's unrivaled. It's amazing. So that's the one I recommend to the most people as well that they listen to. But man, Nostr, it's gotta be Derek Ross, man. I love Derek, dude. Derek's awesome. He came onto my podcast to give me the Nostr 101, and that is just continuously been like gradually growing in YouTube views until they do the same thing as everywhere else and decide, oh crap, Nostr is going to kill us, so we need to get rid of these videos. But he's just so friendly, so helpful, and so smart. Like he's super technical when he needs to be, and he's super open to like bringing on the social side when he needs to be. So I just think he's a great representative. And obviously, I mean, you got to give Fiat Jaff a shout out. He made the thing. I mean, come on, let's go, Fiat Jaff. He's a legend. So, but since it's like a community-based thing, we're going to see so many new people come on, and I'm just so excited to see that flourishing community continue to diversify, see more and more types of people come in there, and it's really just going to become the social media of the future. And the fact that its network effect is going to be self-building, I am so excited about, because you mentioned how like you're starting to mention Bitcoin to people. I've been bringing up Nostr to more people than Bitcoin these days, as like an introductory thing for people who aren't in that sound money, freedom mindset yet. Because if I can sense it's inside of them, it seems easier for people to come to Nostr because I could say, hey, you can start earning Bitcoin for posting. It's really cool. Like there's lots of different clients you can choose from. I find it easier than talking to them about Bitcoin. It just seems easier, and you kind of learn Bitcoin alongside it. Like Nostr teaches you Bitcoin and Nostr at the same time. So yeah, that, a little bit of a ramble there at the end there, but that's my answer.
Perfect. No, yeah, actually, I agree with those. Safe thing. Also, he basically taught me about Bitcoin, and he's the one who introduced me more deeply into carnivore by having like a lot of carnivores in his on his podcast. So that definitely helped a lot. So next question: favorite country and why?
That's tough, man. Favorite country? I'm just gonna go with the home country, man. USA. I think we have the potential to be a fantastic country that really is the bastion of Western civilization and freedom. Obviously, there's a lot of problems going on, but it's I the more that I travel, the more I realize that you know how do I put this? I just believe more and more as I travel and see all these different cultures, I want to help all of these cultures learn how to help themselves. And because this is the thing about the immigration topic that, I will hang my hat on is that there's so much controversy around it. Everyone is mad about immigration, whether they say, oh, we need to immigrate more, we need to immigrate less. I just say, if we just help people like actually love their own home country more and like give them the ability to thrive there and not have to run away, whether through being a refugee or whatever, everyone wins because there's less people that need to run away. There's less people like coming to these Western countries and causing some havoc and politically. So I think that the more and more I learn, the more I think like buckling down your home country and really defending it with everything you have and trying to create it better from like a national standpoint. I really think that that's powerful. So I'm going to go with the home base, USA. Let's go, baby.
USA. Yeah, I think as long as you have decent amount of property rights, that's possible. I'm currently, and it could change with time, more of the mentality of go where you're treated best.
There's a good point for that. The sovereign individual thesis. I think that in the middle ground where we're at right now, where these solutions are sprouting up, but they aren't fully implemented yet, and a lot of countries have really shit rules and regulations that just make it hard to live. I do agree that people, if you're being treated like shit, then they go somewhere you're treated better. Yeah, I think that's 100%. But since we have social media now, we are able to actually create change in our country even when we're not there. We can put pressure on certain political leaders or just continue buying Bitcoin to make them more relevant so they can't take this stuff away from us. There's lots of ways to help your home country even if you are physically somewhere else, which is what I've been doing. I've been traveling around, seeing other places and loving it. And so I'm not saying I don't love all these other places and that I'm like leaving the US. I don't know where I'm going to end up. I have no idea where I'm going to end up living long term. Maybe it's the States, maybe it's somewhere else, but I do really believe that it's powerful when people feel like that connection to their home country and really want to make it better. And there's a lot of ways we can do that now, which is exciting.
Yeah, I identify as an anarcho-capitalist, so like I don't really give too much importance to the state per se, but I would recommend, at least what I'm trying to do, I'm going to try to get second residency or passport somewhere else. So when I start, like, yeah, trying to make change in my country because
Mhm.
my people are still like in this country, it's good to have like that thing in your back pocket, I guess, in case you get persecuted.
Backup. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's smart for sure. You want to stay vigilant at all times. Don't let your ideology get in the way of like making sure you take care of yourself and your loved ones and have backup plans in place
yeah,
for sure.
exactly. And I think like as much as one wants to just go in there, especially when you're young, you just want to get into the fight and make change and be. I think it's better to like at least when you're young, learn as much as you can, accumulate wealth as much as you can, so that you're actually more of a, let's say, dangerous person to the state in your older years. And if you're a carnivore, when you're 40 or 50, you'll still have plenty of energy. So like it's part of the trifecta: the carnivore, Bitcoin, and Nostr. And you'll have more influence as well, more experience. So that's like kind of what I'm trying to do right now. I'm just trying to like build myself up, become something, someone, and then with that influence, perhaps be able to instigate change. But we'll see. We'll see. That's
If
just
you're not on the Fed watch list yet, you got to step your game up. You got to be shit posting harder on some libertarian anti-government memes. So make sure that
basically. Yeah.
I'll see you on the watch list. We'll be there together. Hopefully I don't get whacked at the airport one of these days. We'll see.
Swatted. Yeah, I know. Jesus Christ, that sounds scary. Well, next question. So, what are your top 5 best health hacks for you?
Ooh, health hacks, man. See, this is something I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to make a website that's all about all these other things outside of carnivore, because I feel like carnivore is a rabbit hole in itself, because just the diet itself, we've been just lied to about so bad. And that has a whole history and cast of characters, the, you know, what's his name? I'm forgetting the names, but the whole history of how we got to the standard diet we have now is crazy. But outside of the diet, there's so many other things, and it's just an endless rabbit hole of how can I get healthier. I would say the getting more sunshine is great, grounding, red light therapy. Uh, Something I really want to learn more about is just like frequencies, the bad kind and the good kind, like the EMFs that you have in your house from, having devices. One of the things I'm really trying to do, and I'm finally getting better at that, I used to be really bad, is not using your devices when they're charging. That's a big one, because when your phone or your laptop is charging, and there's some really interesting, like people have taken videos on this of holding the EMF counter when they're touching a phone that is plugged in versus not plugged in. It's a massive spike when it's plugged in. It's just shooting way more energy. So there's just lots of little things like that there are to learn out there, and I'm still figuring out how am I going to compile all this into a website like I have with the other things. Is kind of tricky because there's so many, but I'm keeping a list of all the interesting things I find for sure, because I think that once you get the diet sorted out, you want more. How do I get even healthier and even better? And there's so much out there. Not sure if that answered your question or not, but
No, it
the
does.
answer is there's a lot of things.
No, there is. And I heard one of your podcasts. I forgot who you spoke with, but it goes regarding EMFs and something about putting some special, I think, tubes in the ground or some special device to help neutralize. I haven't
Yeah,
looked into that, so I
yeah,
have.
the orgone energy guy, the orgonite. That's an interesting one.
Yes, Organite. Yes, exactly.
Daniel Prince brought me onto that one. His Once Bitten podcast. He's been going into that for sure. So I'm sort of following in his footsteps a little bit. But yeah, Mitch the orgone donor is the guest I believe you're talking about, and that was right after the chemtrails one with Matt Landman, which is a back-to-back combo of like, here's the problem, it's way worse than you thought, and everyone's wrong about this, and the next one is here's something you can do to fight back. So that's a combo to listen to.
Yeah, it's just so many rabbit holes.
Too many, man. This is what I'm saying. If you don't just truly love just shattering your worldview every single day, then you're not going to survive this. You're going to go insane. But I've just been able to massage my brain into the path of just really enjoying the feeling of being proven wrong every time I can. I think that it's a beautiful thing. Some people, their world just collapses. They feel crushed by it. But if you really love it and enjoy it, then get in the game, man. Post your craziest conspiracy theories on Nostr. I'll zap you for it. We've got to ask questions about everything right now. This is the time to do it.
This feeling of despair I felt once, and that was when I realized that my medical degree was largely a sham. You're not really treating a disease; you're just giving a pill to treat the symptoms. So for a few days, I felt like, damn, all that 7 years wasted in just learning a lot of crap and not even treating it correctly. But you get used to it. I mean, you get used to it. You start learning, and then that's where Bitcoin kind of makes.
Use that as motivation. Use that as a fire in your belly to like really just go extra hard on this new venture of actually spreading the real truth.
Yeah, and ask yourself, like, what else have I been lied to about? I think that's a very important question to ask yourself. And well, now we've seen Bitcoin taking off. Now it's you got all these institutions adopting it, BlackRock and governments, things like that. So it took roughly around 15 years for that to happen. How do you see Nostr's growth? When do you think it overtakes legacy social media?
Great question. I love thinking about this because I think it could happen much faster. I think it could be absolutely explosive. We just don't know when it's going to really pop off, because hardly any real big name influencers have come on there and truly like shouted it from the rooftops on their other platforms. That's what it's really going to take, I think, is like more big names like actually pushing people over. We have a handful of big names on there for sure, but they don't talk about it a lot on the other platforms yet, and that's totally cool. Like it's their their feed, their content. They can do whatever they want. But man, if I
Welcome,
had,
Barry.
we love you, Ken Berry. If I had hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, subscribers elsewhere, I would be banging the doors down like, come follow me over here before this gets taken down, because I'm gonna continue questioning the narrative, continue like doing these things that could get me banned, and this is like the ultimate time before these places implement algorithms to crush anything mentioning Nostr, because I 100% predict that will happen. If it already hasn't started happening, I don't know. But once they figure out that the big tech platforms' days are numbered, they're not going to want to have people sharing how to leave their platform,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm currently doing on X, just constantly. Um, they're going to want to stop the bleeding at some point. So the time to
Or
do that is now, to secure your permanent follower base and get your audience to start zapping you. Like your audience wants to reward you for your content. So like bring them over there and you'll start making money on it. It's just such a no brainer to me. And this is the perfect time to start doing it now when we're still early, because algorithms will change later and make it harder to onboard those people.
yeah, but I've heard that it's possible for X to simply adopt Nostr and become like an extra client. So it doesn't yeah, exactly. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a fight to the death. They can just say, you know what, we're already a huge platform. We just adopt Nostr, and they can still win. So that's the cool thing. That's what makes it like
I think they
Bitcoin.
would lose a
Everyone,
lot of money and control though, which is what they really like.
yeah,
So
but
they won't feel like they're winning. They're not going to like it, I
that's
don't
true.
think.
That's true. Although long term,
You
they
never
will
know.
lose. I think they'll lose eventually. You just once, because once fear seeps into the company, you start doing more authoritarian things, and that only
Yeah.
scares away more people. That's even more publicity for Nostr. So I don't see them winning long term. Long term.
You never know though. Like it's possible that they could find some way to, become even better from this. I'm not sure how that would look. I don't know how that would be, like if they became a super amazing, awesome client and found some monetization strategy from, more and more people going on there. But I just don't know, because like I said, they have a stranglehold on their users right now. That's pretty powerful. And I can't imagine it losing that. There's a way that you could end up winning, but I don't care, because I don't care about them. I care about people, not big tech platforms. So I
Agreed.
say if they get beat in a marketplace of free speech, then they deserve to be beaten.
Agreed. Completely. And like getting more deeper into the purple pilling. How has that been going for you generally? Is it net positive, net negative, or it's been like stable in the last few months? And who's been like the biggest influencer you've managed to purple pill?
Good question. I would say, just in terms of the rate of adoption, more and more people are definitely pulling up on it. We haven't hit the exponential like takeoff point that I think that we're going to hit, and I'm feeling optimistic. There's going to be a big boom point somewhere in 2025, because there's just so much tension around social media right now, because we have this awakening going on where lots of people are starting to ask all these questions, and you can even see it on it seems like there's too much of an awakening for these algorithms to even stop at this point on Instagram and Twitter and the similar ones, that there's sort of some of it's just bursting through anyway, even though it's getting people to ask some big questions that's going to lead them down all sorts of rabbit holes. And it's because I even see it on my Instagram feed. The algorithm seems like it's forced because it knows that's all I care about. And I would literally wouldn't even be on there if it wasn't for like seeing these videos and stuff that goes down these truth holes. But yeah, I just think that there's enough of a just tinder built up that when the spark hits it, it's going to take off. There's so many people that know that it's not safe to be on these centralized platforms, and we just need to continue that grassroots bootstrap effort of just talking to these people, especially if they have big audiences, because they have the most to lose. This is why you should go to Nostr. And I'm doing that every day right now, and I do see more and more people that are open to it. And I think that it's still in the gradually phase, but I think the suddenly phase is coming. I think it's definitely going to hit soon, and just continue buckling down, continue working hard. And you mentioned, like, you asked who are the people I'm the most proud of. I would say, like, I helped nudge Ken Berry over the line
Yeah.
I messaged him, but Jack Spirko also pushed him on that. Like, it was a team effort for him. He had to, like most people, you have to have a few different people like nudging. But I still have a direct message going with him when he has like questions. I usually help him out. But um, I would say I'm the most happy with just getting more and more like medium-sized carnivore accounts on there. Like Tira Cole has like 50,000 followers or something. New Dawn has like 25,000 or something. But just like getting more of these smaller carnivore voices into that world makes me so happy every time. And because I know that that's gonna, when that community really embraces Nostr and goes all in, then it's gonna be huge because it's gonna connect so many dots for them. It's gonna bring them over to Bitcoin, and that is like a massive untapped market of people who's gonna come over and just flourish in the Bitcoin world and the Nostr world. And I'm so excited to see that. I'm sure you are too. But I mean, and selfishly for us, man, we're the trailblazers here. Like, we're pulling these people over. So like, I'm trying to lead the way for these folks because I know they're going to love it, and they're going to appreciate us for it. And it's all about just helping people. And you know, the cool thing about Nostr is that when you provide value and when you help people see the light and find a way and create good content for them, you get paid Bitcoin. Like, everyone wins. It's incentives everywhere. If you're totally selfish, you win. If you're the most unselfish person ever, you still get paid. Like, it doesn't matter like what your underlying motives are. Everyone wins. It's beautiful.
Nice and simple. Yeah, I tried pearl pilling out of the carnivores, I guess, Bart K, but that didn't really go.
I tried with him too. I don't think he's into it. He's not a tech guy. You got to find, if people are saying they're not really into social media that much, or they just don't want to learn more, it's just going to probably take a lot more touch points. And his main is YouTube also, and I don't push those people super hard right now because I just think that we will see better YouTube alternatives on Nostr in the future. And for now, I'm just kind of giving people the spiel that I did with Ken Berry, which is just post your YouTube videos on there. You have a great audience over there. Just use this as an extra way to make a little extra money. Why not? You start building your audience. It takes zero extra work. You just throw the link up there and you're good. And yeah, it can be intertwined anywhere.
Yeah, nice and simple. You don't have to dive too deep into Nostr. Just share the link. Nice and simple. And people like Ben and I can easily promote you to get your followers and things like that. You don't sacrifice much by being on Nostr. And well, you're pretty active on Twitter. And there's different groups there. You got Bitcoiners, the gold bugs, you got carnivores, you got a lot of different groups, libertarian type people, Austrian economists. Which of these groups have you seen are perhaps more receptive to the purple pill?
Good question. Good question. I would say the carnivores, I would say, are the most of any of these little sub communities I've been around because they've heard it mentioned enough times, and they in their brain they connect it with freedom. They just don't know why yet. Most of the time they don't fully understand. There's still a lot of crypto noise kind of obfuscating that, and they're still on that level, I would say, where they kind of view it as, oh, it's one of the cryptocurrencies. It sounds interesting. It could help us get some freedom in the future. They don't go much deeper than that. So they are the most receptive. And that's why I think Nostr is so powerful, because it shows them, like, just start stacking Bitcoin here. And if it just kind of clears the way so beautifully for people. So I would say that. And another sort of, and I was just mentioning also a ton of the people that are getting just hammered by Elon right now for talking about Israel. That's a whole new community I've sort of been poking around in, of criticizing Israel. The more I research, the more I find, like, there's a community of people in there in the Jewish world that has a lot of power, and there's some interesting, like, Grok AI things on Twitter. If you ask them certain questions, like, it gives away a lot about who's really pulling the strings behind Twitter.
Interesting.
That's a rabbit hole that I only just sprinkle it around. Go watch that series I gave you.
Yeah, Europa, right?
Those people, yeah, those people that get their blue checks taken away from Elon and have their reach completely crushed, they are pissed off and they're looking for alternatives. So that was like last night, that space. I was talking with this guy who's prominent in that world, and he is super into it because, like, this actually gives us a place where we can talk about anything. We don't have to worry about who's controlling the social media platforms. Total free speech is here. We just have to find a way there. And so that I would say carnivores and the critics of Israel are the current two that I'm like really pushing on. I think that they're the most primed for it.
You know, you're basically the vanguard in this. So like you're experimenting, you're asking around, you're seeing what's best. That is
Yeah.
so awesome. And
It's fun, man. I love it. I love just like experimenting and the psychological side of all of this and just seeing how people resonate with different things is fascinating.
I agree. And what do you think? What are the main motives that you think are behind people choosing other things like Mastodon or what's that thing from Facebook?
Uh,
Sky? No, Blue Sky. No, no, it's not Blue
Blue
Sky.
Sky is like a Twitter thing.
Yeah. So
It's
like,
supposed to be decentralized, but everyone gets
it's
banned from
not.
it, so it's just a joke to me. I don't know.
Why do you think people go to those platforms instead of Nostr? Like, is there something that turns them off when they come to Nostr, or
I
why
don't
do
think
they?
they're I don't think they're turned off from Nostr. They've just heard enough people talking about it that they just kind of follow the crowd. Like I know Blue Sky has been in the back burner of consciousness for a while for people that have been on Twitter because that used to be Jack Dorsey's thing he was into, and it's always sort of it was planted there for a while. But people are going over there and actually trying it, and then they say something controversial and they get kicked off. So I think it was a quick realization for people who are saying like actual speaking truth to power. It doesn't work there. So why is it decentralized again? It's not very decentralized. So I think that unfortunately, similarly to crypto and Bitcoin, those people that just get burned by trying one of them are probably going to think, oh, like none of them are actually decentralized. It's all a lie. I'll just keep complaining about Elon on Twitter. But this is why we have to just really focus in on telling them the differences, the same as we do with Bitcoin and crypto. Talk about how these are fundamentally different. I couldn't even explain Mastodon to you. I don't know how it works. All I know is that the smart people I follow along with, when I mentioned, would be Rabble. He had that really great presentation, really explaining how each of them are different: Mastodon, Blue Sky, Nostr, and all these other decentralized attempts. Yeah, he had a really good. I think it was at Nostriga, if I'm not mistaken. If you I think that was somewhere. This really, if you type in presentation, it's called like the past, present, and future of social media. I think something like that. But I also had him on my podcast to basically walk it through. So you can just go listen to my podcast episode with him. But he basically breaks all of them down and why Nostr is just the best. And it's the most decentralized. It fixes the most problems, and the network effect is at this point, I think it's unstoppable. I think it's going to take over, and I'm really excited for it. It's going to be beautiful and chaotic, and I'm here for it.
Now you mentioned that podcast, I gotta give it a listen because every time people ask about Nostr, I send them your podcast with Eric Ross, and
Sweet.
now I guess I'll have something to send them in case they ask what's the difference between Mastodon and Blue Sky and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get into your purple pilling process. Like, do you have like a template? Do you adapt it depending on each individual? Like, what's your basic process?
I would say I would definitely just underline the first rule of sales, which I learned from being like a sales dude, and a lot of other people will mention this too, is you need to figure out what the person's pain point is and not focus on anything else. Just focus purely on that. And one example would be, when I was in San Cristobal, Chiapas, when I told you how I, talked to all these people in my house about it, and just I got like I think 11 people in this house to get on a Nostr or something like that. The pain point for us is it's a pain in the ass to get money out of ATMs and pay each other with pesos from all of our different countries' currency. My card wouldn't even freaking work at the ATMs. It just decided not to work in that city for some reason. It worked fine in Oaxaca City, and I came to San Cristobal. It just won't work. That's a classic fiat problems. It just doesn't work. So I needed to use Bitcoin, and I just kind of brought them into. I knew they were all so frustrated, and it's just like annoying to deal with different currencies. And so I said, look, this is a way that we can all just pay each other here in the house. Like we owe each other for stuff every once in a while. This makes it so much easier. We don't have to go get cash for everything, or worry about Wise or Venmo or these other things with third parties and tracking and everything. It's just it works better for that. And for the people on Twitter who are angry at Elon for taking away their blue check, as they should be, for them, they just want to have like a voice that reaches people. They want to be able to spread their message and not get cut off from some random arbiter of truth that's in the shadows they don't even know. so for them, you talk to them about censorship resistance, like how you cannot be censored on Nostr. I tell them how, when I post that Europa the Last Battle link, it literally says you cannot post this. It's dangerous content. And on every single one of the centralized platforms, and they're aware of this link and this series, and they're trying to share it too, but you can't. You literally can't share it. And so I tell them, look, I go to Nostr and it just pops right up, and I got zapped a bunch of times for it. So I actually earned Bitcoin, and people appreciate these controversial voices and opinions that need to be shared. So that's what speaks to them. And talking to the carnivores, like carnivores really care about that, connecting with your local community, connecting with your farmer, and just separating yourself from the state.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to weave in how both Bitcoin does that for you and how Nostr does that for you, because they've been through the rabbit hole of no longer trusting the institutions because they know that they all were lied to about fruits and vegetables and grains, and how all the guidelines are a total sham. So all they need to see is how, like, yeah, we were lied to about everything. Here's how you can escape their control even more. So depends on the community you're talking to. It's always shifting around, and I just really, and I always open up and just say, like, if you ever have questions, feel free to DM me. Here's some videos that you can watch, some podcasts you can listen to. I'll see you over there, and I'll send you your first zap. It'll be awesome. Come by.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, next week I think I released my interview with I interviewed Dave Mack this time. Again, I tried dropping.
Give it to him. I gave it to him twice, and he still hasn't joined. So give him another purple pill for me.
I try giving him the orange pill, because
okay.
But we'll see what happens.
I think Nostr would be great for him because he's had censorship problems on his YouTube channel. Like,
oh really?
He's been attacked by vegans multiple times. They've gone after him and like mass reported in their little mafias that they make of just vegan influencers, and so he has gone through phases of being scared his whole channel is going to get axed. So that's what I would focus on. Just say, like, hey, and this kind of brings back what I talked about earlier, where like you don't need to like completely leave YouTube. You have a great audience there that's super passionate and really engaged with your content. Just tell them that you're on Nostr now as a backup. That's all you got to do. And just post your YouTube videos on Nostr so you can make some extra Bitcoin from it, and just continue doing that. It takes very little extra work, and your backup home base will be secured, and you don't have to worry about getting banned anymore.
Nice. And so yeah, again, you have any questions, hashtag ask Nostr or hashtag askster. That's all you need.
I've never heard of the Askster. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I use it. Because quick question regarding San Cristobal. How did they have any questions regarding the volatility? For example, if they get 100 pesos, suddenly it's worth 90 pesos in their wallet. Like, do they have any doubts
really.
about that?
I make sure to explain that. I explain that, is it really the Bitcoin that's volatile, or is it the fiat currency that's volatile? And just kind of get them to think of it in that way. And for the most part, people are just getting more open to things. I think there's really been a shift in the last year or two. I think there's obviously lots of people out there who are far away from the truth in a lot of ways, and it's tough to try to drag them back toward the light. But there are also so many people out there that are really open to this stuff. One example, in that exact the house I was living in, this very wonderful girl named Bailey Richmond, shout out to Bailey. I told her about Bitcoin, and she's like, this sounds super interesting. I gave her like a good conversation, and she bought like $5,000 of it right there. And it was like 60K at the time. So the next couple of months it went up to 100K, and she sent me messages saying, thank you, man, this is great. So some people are, you never know who's going to be open to it and jump in and just give it a shot. And so I think that it's important we keep shooting a shot and don't take it personally when people just close off and don't want to talk to you and they think you're crazy or an idiot. Just keep going. I really believe that that's a powerful skill, to just be able to continue staying motivated and spreading the message even when certain people don't want to hear it. You let them go. You don't continue bashing their faces in with this content if they don't want to hear it, and go on to find more people that do. Because when you find the people that do, they will appreciate you immensely for it, and you could change their life.
Yeah, definitely agree. Plus, I guess like in this Airbnb or hostel you were staying in, I guess you're transacting small amounts.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything like their life savings.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And that's the cool thing about it, is it's very low risk. So all you have to do is just it's just the idea of the fact that you're moving Bitcoin around is cool to people. And I'm really looking forward to the future of Nostr when there's, mass adoption takes place and there's tons of people on there, because I really think it's going to turn into a serious money making spot. I mean, you can really see the scaling ahead for it. It's tiny right now, and I'm still making like decent amount of sats. And it's going to be really exciting when it really blows up and everyone on there can send Bitcoin to each other with the click of a little button. It's going to open up so many opportunities for content creators and artists. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, there's no denying that. I totally agree with it. I'm guessing you used Primal as like the Nostr client for receiving Bitcoin, or what did you use in San Cristobal?
So Primal is the go-to for bringing new people on, partly also because it has the built-in wallet. That's a
Yeah,
stat saver for
what I was
people.
thinking. Okay,
However, there are some people that they're from countries that the wallet won't work, like Canada, for example. There are a few Canadian people, and for them, I just gave them wallet of Satoshi. That's an easy
okay,
backup, and yeah, and so it takes 15 minutes to get everything all set up, and then you mentioned earlier, like, what's my process? I should probably elaborate a little more on it. So once you get them set up, which, like I said, I usually start them on Primal because that's on all phones, and make sure they write a really good introductions post. I say, like, explain who you are, what you're about, that you're excited to learn more about Bitcoin and Nostr. Like, write a good post here. Put a couple of pictures of yourself if you're willing to, be open about yourself on here, or just pictures of your adventures or something interesting, because there's too many like text only introductions. They kind of just all blend together. So like really make this a colorful post. And I was able to help some people get some real bangers right out of the gate. Like this guy named Mitch who has a Project Untethered. He's like a travel blogger. He has like a big YouTube channel, like 150 subs or something, 150,000 rather. And so his post got like 250 likes and like shitload of zaps. I can't remember how much it was now, but like he killed it on that post. And so I was super happy for him. And he was just like on a hammock next to me, like looking at all these zaps come in, just getting stoked about it. And I was like, this is exactly what you got to do.
cool.
It's
That's
so
so
cool to
cool.
see people go through that. And
Yeah, I
Bailey
think.
too. The girl I mentioned earlier who bought the Bitcoin, Bailey Richmond. If you type in BAIL, she'll probably be up there because she's been doing great.
Awesome. No,
Doing really well.
I'll check them out definitely. So, like, since we're talking about the clients, which are your favorite clients, aka apps, on Nostr?
I lost you just a second there. Could you repeat that?
Oh, sure, yeah. So, which have been your favorite apps or clients on
Mm.
Nostr?
I would say for now, my mains are the one I probably use the most on my Android phone is Amethyst, and my Primal is kind of the backup. I like the zapping in Primal better, so I usually use Amethyst for the daily scrolling and posting, and then I go to Primal at the end of the day and just zap everything I can find. And like I said earlier, I'm very excited about Satlantis. That's going to be a completely different kind of client. I think there's a lot of potential there for people, especially if they're like traveler, nomad type folks like me. I think Nostr, however it's pronounced, Nostur. That's another client I have on my Mac computer, which is quite interesting. Olas is one I'm really excited about. Have you heard about that one that Pablo is building?
Yeah, I downloaded. I can't use it effectively. It's kind of weird, clunky.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten deep into it, but I'm excited about it. I trust him. He's a great developer, and I think that's going to be killer soon. And having an Instagram clone and eventually better than Instagram is going to be huge for getting that audience of people over. So I'm really excited about that. Very bullish on it. Haven't played with it a lot myself either. I think I went through the read-only version like a few weeks ago and just scrolled, and it looks great. I haven't gotten into actually using it to post. I'm not even sure if you can, but it's early. It's going to get better, and I'm excited about it. That's what I'll say.
Actually, since you're clearly an influencer, you're into social media and things like that. I'm not really much of a social media guy myself. I'm guessing I should be posting a lot more often if I would want to have like that supposed influencer status. Like, what tips can you give to people who are perhaps trying to do that? Like, how many you be posting every day, every second day, every third day? Like, how does that work exactly? I'm guessing it's different on legacy social media and on Nostr.
Yeah, well, I just pulled up my account here on Primal, and I'm about to hit 7,000 notes as of this recording, so quite a few. Yeah, I've been grinding on this for sure. I definitely post every day, and everyone's different. I would say that Nostr is where you can do whatever you want. You don't have to follow any sort of formula, but I would say that the more you post, and the more you post with the intent of really creating value for people, is where you're going to see the most success. Because and this is something I've immediately seen with these carnivore friends I'm bringing on, like Tira Cole, for example. She has a whole website full of carnivore resources, and so she's been just putting all those links up, explaining, hey, here's a page on my website all about this. Here's occasional long form posts about like why carnivore is so good for you, and like clearly helping create value for people and teaching people things. If someone's going to just make an account and only post like SoundCloud songs that you're listening to, you're probably not going to get a ton. I do that every once in a while because that's a cool thing about Nostr is you don't get punished for the low engagement post. Like on Twitter, if you post some dumb song you're listening to, like you're going to get no likes, and the algorithm actually punishes you for that because it sees that people aren't engaging with you. But on Nostr, you can just post away whatever you want, whatever's going through your mind, whatever you feel like is good. It's not an engagement farming fest. You actually can be yourself. And so that's what's beautiful about it. But I would say, yeah, just be yourself, post as often as you feel comfortable with. Um, what else? Just use those tags like you talked about to make sure you write a really good introductions post to kind of get the wheels turning and get some eyeballs and followers, because it's a lot easier and more fun to post a lot when you actually have people that you're posting to. You're not posting into the void. So I mean, like anywhere else, it's going to be a grind to build an audience if that's your goal. But since I've been on it for 2 years now, just grinding hard, like I'm very lucky. I've almost passed my Twitter following. I just crossed 17,000 on there. So for me personally, since I post a lot of spicy, controversial content, people love that on Nostr, and I don't get crushed by an algorithm. Where on Twitter, I basically just completely have had my reach stolen from me, and it's completely gone now. Like I used to get way more engagement, and people tell me all the time, like, I never see your posts anymore. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm crushed by the shadow ban. And so for me, it's helped to get rid of that. Now, for people who normally post like very, algorithm friendly content where the algorithm boosts them up and helps them and gets them out to more people, it's probably going to be a little bit of a slower grind, but it doesn't even have to be, because if you're posting good stuff, like people on there are going to boost it. And I do think that, I mean, it's not like there's always going to be no algorithm on Nostr. We're seeing clients start to add algorithm options that you can choose. Like I know Primal has a marketplace of algorithms. You can choose the 24-hour trending or the most zapped, or keep it purely chronological. Is actually your choice, which is so cool. So we're going to have these algorithms that actually work for people and don't have these mystery shadow bans on people. And so I think that the people that create good content are going to blow up and really see success even more on Nostr than they ever did on the legacy socials. And that's going to be really exciting.
Excellent advice, free advice for those listening, and hope they take it to heart, because there's a lot of room for people here to grow. And if you have value to add, I think Nostril will be fantastic for you. And then, do you have any future projects?
Good question. I don't know. I'm not sure if I have anything to really point out right now. I am just extremely focused on growing Nostr. I think that is, I would say that's my current project. I'm sure I'm going to continue building these informational websites. That's just kind of how I like to curate the things that I learn and try to pass on, to other people going down the same rabbit hole. I have the domain studynostr.com, so eventually I'm going to turn that into a resource collection for Nostr. Right now, I just have it pointing to a blog post on my website all about Nostr, so I still share that link around. But yeah, I just think that the most important thing that I feel like I can be doing right now is helping just onboard people to Nostr, because that helps them also learn about Bitcoin and just get in this like super freedom forward movement of people and just this really strong community. And that's kind of my theme for 2025 right now. We'll see if things change, but and as you know, I bounce around between all sorts of different rabbit holes all the time, so I could just completely change in a week from now. Who knows? I'm all over the place, and I kind of just embrace the chaos in that aspect. But yeah, just building the podcast out, that's like a big project for me, and growing Nostr. and continuing to learn every single day. This is the time to learn and help others learn as well, and awaken the masses to make a better world.
Awesome, Ben. Yeah, 2025 is going to be a banger. So, Ben, like, we're at the end of the podcast. So, where would you like to send people if they want to learn more about you and what you're doing?
I would say definitely if you're on Nostr, go find me there, the primal.net/Ben, or my NPub, which I'm sure maybe you put those in the show notes. Uh, Still have a Twitter, so if you're a little slow and you still use Twitter, that's fine too. Also on Instagram, I literally still have all these old legacy apps. If you want to follow me over there, I use them to shill Nostr a lot, but I still have them. Um, my podcast is also a baby of mine, the Ben Werman podcast. That's where, I have such a stupid backlog of people I need to upload, man. I literally have like 20 episodes to get through right now. It's ridiculous. Um, Tons of fun just
Yeah.
talking to all these interesting people, though. I love that. So we'll continue to tell people, if you're a podcaster, you enjoy listening, go listen to that one, and keep listening to our friend Dr. Fernando Morales here. He's bringing the heat every episode. I love what you're doing too, sir. And yeah, just follow me everywhere you can. Nostr's the future, and we're going to change the world together. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Actually, last question that I actually asked Max DeMarco last time. What's your stance on Nostr only?
Ooh, so I'm glad you asked that, actually, because possibly controversial take here. I would say that the most effective and unselfish thing you can do is to keep your accounts on other places, especially if you have a big following, and use them to push people to Nostr. I think that is the most virtuous thing to do. I think that, I'm not going to fault people who are just exhausted mentally from being on these other platforms where you're just spinning your wheels all the time and just want to get out. That's cool. Like, do what's best for you, especially if you have a family or whatever, and you don't have that much time. Stick with Nostr only if you can only do one, absolutely. But if you do have some time to spend and you really care about speeding up adoption, I would keep your account on the other places and really just keep pushing the Nostr message, because that's the best way we can show the right people the way over. So I'm not a Nostr only guy yet. Maybe someday, like once they inevitably put in these algorithms that crush anything mentioning Nostr, that would probably be when it's like, okay, it's not really worth the energy anymore. Everyone else will have to figure it out themselves. So that's kind of the way I see it. I'm still spending a lot of time on Twitter and Instagram, just trying to funnel people into it. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think it was Odell, like, from what I understood, he grinded away to shill Bitcoin to people. I guess not many people would listen. He got tired of that. Now he's shilling Nostr, but he stops shilling Bitcoin. I guess it's like a process, like
Yeah.
you eventually get burned out and you just move on.
Yeah.
But oh well. Ben, thank
Everyone
you.
got to do their own thing and find your own like path that makes you feel the most fulfilled. And like for me, it's such a huge, just like it makes me feel so satisfied when I help people over to Nostr. Because like last night, I think I mentioned this earlier. I did that Twitter space and was just basically walking people. Here's exactly how you leave this dump and go to Nostr to like 1,400 people. So it was a great feeling, and a bunch of people made Nostr accounts, and now they're going to be part of the future. So I'm going to keep doing that as long as I can.
Keep it up, Ben. Anyways, thank you very much for coming on, and hope to see you very, very soon.
Yes, dude. Can't wait. We still need to meet in person sometime. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I need to come there in northern Mexico, get some of that good meat you guys got over there. It's in the books for sure soon.